And joining us to talk about those numbers are Ed Rollins, a Republican strategist, and former campaign manager for Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, and Democratic strategist Rob Zimmerman. Good morning to both of you.
Good to be with you.
Rob, I'll begin with you. 13 and a half months before Election Day, should the White House be panicking over these numbers?
They shouldn't be panicking, but they should be concerned, and I would recommend they take some Dramamine and stop spinning themselves. Because the reality is that CBS New York Times poll is very instructive, and it's important to recognize that after a year of the debt ceiling debacle, the government shutdown debate, that the White House has lost a clear and definitive agenda. What is encouraging in that poll is the American Jobs Act is getting substantial broad support.
Let me ask you, Ed, you worked for Ronald Reagan. As Whit pointed out, Ronald Reagan had a 43% approval rating. At the same time in his presidency, he went on to win, obviously. What should the Republicans take from these numbers? Anything positive?
Well, I think, first, they've got their own problem in the Congress in the sense that the country is not very happy with them. I think the key thing here is the Republicans have to choose one of the candidates that can become an acceptable alternative. And the bottom line here is this president is a great campaigner. He may not be a great president, but he's a great campaigner. He has his campaign team up and functioning. A lot of disarray in the White House because of the campaign being in Chicago. But you never can underestimate someone until the election takes place. Republicans want someone who can beat him. And that's the key thing.
Well, it's interesting, Ed, if you look at these numbers, even with the president's low approval rating, the other polls show that he would still beat any Republican candidate who's out there now. What does that say to you?
Long ways to go. You know, you have someone like Perry that's new to the game, that's not known by everybody across the country. As you draw near, it makes a difference. These are bad numbers for a president, but he's not beat yet.
Ed's point is very instructive because realistically, this year it's about a referendum on Barack Obama. Next year it's about a choice. And if just looking at the Republican presidential debate of this past week, it was like an infomercial for anger management therapy. I mean, realistically, you had Rick Perry declaring Social Security unconstitutional, which 75% of Republicans oppose, according to the New York Times CBS poll. John Huntsman calling another colleague treasonous, and Michelle Bachmann carrying on like she's Rush Limbaugh in drag. And that is really losing the mainstream voter.
Well, James Carville said this week, Rob, that the White House should panic, fire people, this change things big time. You agree with that?
I don't agree with it, and I have a great respect for James, but this is about the president and his agenda. It's not about the staff. And realistically, as I said, while the White House lost control of the agenda and the message, the Jobs Act provides a real opportunity if they stay with it and if they mobilize the country, and the country's prepared for action. As Shakespeare said, action is eloquence, not speeches.
The one thing they do have to worry about, you can't have disarray in the White House. You can't fire people like Carville wants to do. But you're now starting to see some scandals. You have this energy company in California. They got $500 billion in inappropriate influence peddling. And I think if there's more of that, then that's something that becomes a scandalous thing, and that adds to the mess they already have.
And, of course, recently you stepped down from running Michelle Bachmann's campaign. You said it was for health reasons. You can't run like you used to.
68 years old.
As you said. Do you think she can win?
It's a real uphill battle for her. She's got to come through. She could still possibly win Iowa. If she wins Iowa, she's back in the game. She obviously won the Iowa straw poll.
But at this point, you still think it's a Perry-Romney race?
I think they both have the resources. They both have bigger organizations. And I think at this point in time, Perry has to drop before she can come back or anybody else can come back.
We're just glad to have Ed back in New York because he's a Golden Gloves winner and he's a fighter. We're glad to have him with us.
Still an old man.
Ed Rollins and Rob Zimmerman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Great insight this morning.